Fantastic. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here again. And thank you so much for your kind invitation, Trina. I couldn't wait to talk to you all tonight. So this is great to be here. And look, thank God, lockdown has now lifted and we are free. And actually, yes, I don't remember exactly my words, but sometimes, you know, I know all of these things as they're happening or just even before they start to happen. But the funny thing is that I can see the disruption still lasting throughout the rest of this year. And I think I might have said that some time ago. I know throughout all the years that I've given talks and warned people that the pandemic was due, you know, I think I said at that time that it would take quite some time to get things back on the straight and narrow. But one thing that's really important for everybody to know is that and I may have mentioned this last time, but we're coming out of a 20-year cycle and we're about to go into a new 20-year cycle. And the really fascinating part of feng shui is timing, because I can fix the person and I can fix the house, but the timing is everything. And that's what kind of joins the dots together. And at the moment, because that sort of polarization is happening at the minute, there is a massive shift in energies. And again, I don't want to bore you. I hope I didn't go into this in too much detail last time, but I just want to say that this is a very difficult time for the entire world. This is when world war could break out, when wars of all kinds will happen. This is when famines will happen, natural disasters, pandemics, an awful lot of economic uncertainty and world recession tends to happen around this time. So be prepared. Preserve and conserve is the order of the day. Hang on to your energy, hang on to your money, make sure that you are prioritizing properly. And, you know, if we haven't learned anything, then I think one thing we have learned is get on with it, get things done, because you can't do it when lockdown's in place. You know, it makes life a lot more difficult, doesn't it?
Well, I think we've all learned an awful lot. We're in a better position if we have to, because we've all learned we can live without things that we honestly thought we couldn't, you know, that you'd have to sort of prize out of our grasping fingers. So, you know, I think we may be a little more resilient than we were before. But anyway, forewarned is forearmed, Nina. And thank you again. And thank you so much for coming here this evening. I just want to tell everybody you have a brand new website and it is fabulous.
Wow, thank you.
So easy to navigate, and I was looking at it yesterday and today, and I just love you've got so many if anybody wants some great ideas, I think really go and have a look at Nina's website. It's beautiful and also just so easy to navigate. And I'm going to say in the very beginning, if you've got a newsletter button to click, and I absolutely think anybody listening should pop their name on that newsletter, because you are always evolving, Nina, and coming out with, you know, something new you want to share with people, and new courses and new workshops and new things. So I think it's well worth just going to and putting your name down with you. But anyway, Nina, how are things? We've got some questions. People were jumping.
Yeah.
We literally have some people who were saying immediately, let's get straight in there.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
as well.
Can I go very briefly? One of the things that did come back up a few times was that a subject that we did almost a throwaway comment the last time, which was about mirrors in the bedroom. And oh my goodness, what a storm in bedrooms you have caused all over the place.
It's amazing, isn't it? What people, I suppose it's what we do today. That's the problem, isn't it? We are doing all kinds of things today that we shouldn't be doing in our homes. And, you know, at the end of the day, a healthier, happier home is a healthier, happier family, or a healthier, happier occupant. So at the end of the day, we have to look at what are we doing now? Is it the right thing to be doing? And one of the big things, and I had to laugh, I did have a giggle, I have to confess, whoever sent in the question about mirrors must have an awful lot of mirrors in their home. And the thing about mirrors is, of course, is that there's several things about mirrors. One is that they steal the energy from a room. So don't have mirrors in bedrooms. If you want a decent night's sleep, make sure you either get rid of the mirrors in the bedrooms or you cover them at night. And I don't even allow mirrors in rooms at all. That one is sleeping in. I just think it's better not to have the mirror in the room, because the whole point of a bedroom is to contain the energy. We need our energy at night to recuperate and recover and to rebuild and rejuvenate, and just to kind of, I suppose, rebuild cells and file away information. And there's so much that goes on during sleep that's absolutely imperative. And if you ask anyone today what their main issue is, nearly everyone will tell you it's either to do with sleep or digestion or nerves. And, you know, I think it's a very important thing that we get as much sleep as possible. That's what keeps us, you know, alive for longer. You will live long and happy and healthy if you get a good night's sleep. So think about your bedroom. Think about what are the components in that room that are contributing to not just to your well-being, your health rather, but also to your mental well-being, in that we're awake when we're asleep, and even when we're asleep, we're awake. When we're awake, we're asleep, if you know what I mean. We're actually in a constant state of alertness, and that's to do with our survival instinct. So look at your bedrooms afresh, and perhaps do a little bit of a scan tonight before you go to bed. Air the bedroom. I think I said this before, but I do give a lot of talks and I don't always remember what I said in a previous talk. But just make sure that you ventilate the bedroom really well before you go to bed at night, because the toxin buildup will occur. And that toxin buildup is from all the off-gassing from synthetic fabrics and materials and fire retardancy treatments and moth repellency and all of the things that are now included in the goods that we consume today. We buy far too much. And when we buy our goods, we're looking perhaps too much at trends and colors and things that look so attractive in the shops. We bring them home and we don't really evaluate the damage that they're doing to our health. So buy all natural, try and keep to, you don't need that much to live happily. The less you have, the better off you are and the happier you'll be. And I assure you of that. So think long and hard about what you're buying, what you're bringing home, and particularly what you're putting into your bedroom. It's the one room that should be clean.
Can I jump? Definitely. I love that you said it's the one room, because so many other people are not going to see it, that we tend to go, I'll get there when I get there. But can I just ask you something? Because one or two people did mention it. Firstly, that their sleep, those who mentioned about the mirrors did also say that they had sleep problems, as in finding it really difficult to sleep. The other thing I want to ask you about is there was a wonderful trend at one stage, and we all wanted them, of mirrored wardrobes. And so a lot of people have those in their rooms. What can they do about those, do you think?
Well, actually, I suppose 1 in 3 houses I go to have mirrored wardrobes in one room or another, because of course, they were at one time, builders just put them into houses, didn't they? It was almost like the done thing. And maybe the fact that they had sliding doors also meant that they were space saving. But actually, they don't do your health any good, because of course, like I said, a good night's sleep will impact your health. But what happens is they don't just steal the energy from the room, but like I said, when we're asleep, we're awake, and our brain is awake, it's alert, and it's looking for any movement, no matter how small, around us. And if it sees in the reflection that your body has just moved, it's going to wake you up. It might not wake you up fully, but it'll wake you up enough that you're woken from that deep sleep. And so it's a while before you get back into sleep again. And of course, the first thing you'll probably do is roll over or, move an arm or a leg, and the next thing your brain will wake you again. And that's the issue with the mirrors in rooms. Plus, I don't know, I'm sure you all know this, that when someone dies, the first thing we do is we close the blinds and the windows and we cover mirrors. And that's not to see the spirit rising from the body. So there's lots of different reasons why mirrors are a very big deal. But don't forget, an old mirror will have seen a lot in its time. And, you think about an antique mirror, and of course, it will have seen a lot in its time. And so in a way, a mirror expands energy. So the worse things that it's seen, the more that it is expanded, if that makes sense. But the brain is very alert. Like, we don't like walking towards our own image, for instance. It makes us sort of look at it and think, oh, what's happening here? It confuses the brain, because obviously we weren't, we didn't originate with mirrors in houses. We didn't have houses, we had huts, and we lived so much more naturally. So you do have to think about, how we've evolved and what actually really suits our brain and what will help us to relax and not stress us out. And the one thing that will definitely stress you out is a mirror, because it turns a room into a formal setting. And if you look at any sitting room, any formal sitting room, they'll always have the fireplace with the ubiquitous mirror above the fireplace. And it looks so formal, and it isn't ever hung at the right height, because of course the mantel shelf can be a bit too high. So you'll only sort of catch part of your reflection. Not the best thing. And the same in a bathroom where you've got a split cupboard, perhaps, you've got the mirrored bathroom cabinet with the line down the middle. Or broken tiles, those mosaic mirrored tiles. Again, not so good, because again, it reflects an image to our brain that's not a good image. So everything that we send in the way of messages to the brain needs to be positive. And of course, my focus is on positivity, transformation, and fulfillment. So it's very important that we stick to keeping things as simple as possible, live simply, and get a good night's sleep. So yes, there's a trick now when it comes to mirrored wardrobes that's very, very simple. If you can put up a long curtain track in front, just a simple plastic curtain track in front of the wardrobes, and pull across a set of voiles perhaps, or a set of curtains at night, then you've eliminated the issue. And the other option is to wallpaper the doors, a very simple thing. And you can also buy vinyl transfers, but I prefer the wallpaper option where possible. So try not to avoid plastics, avoid mirrors, and try and ventilate the bedroom in such a way that you actually get rid of the carbon dioxide, because don't forget, when we breathe in oxygen for life, and when we breathe out carbon dioxide, which is death. So when you go to your bedroom at night, the more toxins in the house, the more carbon dioxide. And don't forget that an awful lot of the contaminants in the house, I mean, we have up to 900 different contaminants in indoor air. So that indoor air, we need to keep it circulating. We need to keep it fresh all the time. We don't want biological matter in that air. We don't want chemicals. We don't want dangerous toxins that are actually they're causing lung cancer, dementia, and lots of other issues with our health. So clean air, no mirrors, and if you can, sleep on your back, which I'm really sure I mentioned the last time. Sleep on your back, no pillows. No pillows.
You know something I'd be really interested to hear? Now I have a full length, one of those, what would you say, dressing mirrors in my bedroom. When the last time we were on, what I did was I turned it so that it faces out the door and doesn't face into the room. Now maybe we need to get rid of it altogether. But what I would be really interested in hearing from are people who do have trouble sleeping, who do take your advice, and then come back and tell us how they find the energy changing in the room, because I'm dying to find out. I mean, if it were to make a big difference, it is a very small investment, because I sleep
just a little bit of effort. And when you think about it, I went to a client's recently and she had 22 mirrors. I was counting them. Just, I sort of said, there's this thing in Ireland where everybody thinks, rather than try and pick a picture, let's stick a mirror up there. And so you go into houses and you get this is the typical one actually, and a lot of feng shui books will tell you, and they're obviously incorrect to do this. In feng shui terms, it's supposed to be good. Do not hang, whatever you do not hang a mirror in a hall opposite your front door, because it does not invite in opportunities. It does exactly the opposite. It will repel out all the energy. So all your opportunities, all the finances and good luck and fortune that could come in your front door instead is actually being repelled out the other side. And I do get a lot of people who can't get a job have actually got a mirror hanging in their hallway, and it is known as a very important taboo. So a taboo is something you just don't do. You don't do certain things, and one of those things is have mirrors in bedrooms, and the second thing is to hang a mirror opposite the hall door. Or the third thing is to split your image in half, of course, or break it up in any way. That message from the brain to us about our own self-worth and our self-esteem is very important. And you can see a lot of people suffering from lack of self-worth and self-esteem today. And that's a very important thing, is that we always follow up a negative thought with something positive.
I love that. Now, thank you so much for covering that. Yeah. Maybe we have put that to bed once and for all on Tuesday Night Club. Wise no more mirrors in the bedroom, or you badly placed throughout the house. And Nina, I could listen to you all day talk about that. But we have one or two other questions.
We do. We have a lot of questions, don't we?
Do you want to just read them out and go where you'd like to go with them?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there are so many here. And I suppose, we have to make sure that we try and cover as best we can some of those questions.
Lead on that then.
Yeah, I suppose and some people have asked interior design questions, or if you like, feng shui design questions, and I'll answer them as well as best I can.
Yeah.
But we have one here. Waking up and not feeling as though I'm resting. I'm not sleeping that well, and I'm tossing and turning, and often wake up lying across the bed. So there are several issues here. So I'm just explaining something about authentic feng shui, which is what I do. And that is that when I go to a client's house, I will take a compass degree reading with my own Lopan compass, special Chinese compass, to see exactly which way the front door that the person is using to come in and out of their home, which way that is facing. And once I know the alignment and I know the person's date of birth, I will do a lot of calculations and data analysis, and I will find out exactly what kind of energy there is in each of the rooms in the house. And I can know from that what's going on in a person's life. And once I've worked out where all the palaces are, these are sectors in the house, I know exactly who's being affected by what, who's falling sick, perhaps who's stressed, maybe the food that they're cooking in the kitchen is making them vomit and they're having to ask the doctor to come by regularly and give them anti-nausea drugs. There's, or injection rather. There's a lot of different things that go on within the home, and obviously within the different family members' bodies as well. And so one of the things that I would look for is, the cause for why there's an issue with sleep. And that can be several different issues. It could be that there's geopathic stress in the house. And this means that it's possible that there is a misalignment of energy, like a bad energy line running through the house itself. And if that's the case, the bedroom, it might be an idea to either change the bedroom and sleep in a different space for a while and see if you can get to sleep without the disturbance that's occurring at night. That's one of the possibilities. And that could be caused by an underground stream, for instance, which gives off an energy field. And that actually is known as geopathic stress. And it's actually known to also cause 97% of cancers. So if you feel that you might have a problem in the house as regards a disturbance of energy, it might be as well to get somebody in who can read the geopathic stress, who specializes in that area, and who can give you an exact indication of where those lines are, how much the energy field is affected, whether you need to move furniture away by 1 meter or 2 meters, where the line exactly runs, and so on. And that's absolutely worth investing in. I mean, that's exactly what we would have done in, centuries ago. We would have checked the land first before we build to make sure that the ground was healthy and that the site was right and that the house could be sited correctly on that site. And underground streams are very, very common, no matter whether you're in a city or the country. Another disturbance of energy, if you like, that will contribute to problems with sleep, and you'll often find children will be the first to react to it, and that is if there's a ghost in the bedroom. And that can be a brand new house, by the way. It's not necessarily an old house, because an old house might be haunted. It's actually down to energy that we might bring home with us. It might be to do with the ground being disturbed when the house was being built. It could be some kind of contamination coming in from another area. But the important thing is, if the energy is disturbed in that way, then the sleeper will find it almost impossible to get sleep, or they will be disturbed during the night. And it might be down to an awful lot of tossing, turning and movement, or it could be down to, these disturbances lead to nightmares as well. So you'll often find that a child will wake up screaming, or the child won't even go to the bedroom and go to sleep. There's another one. Or an adult might be actually having to sleep upright, terrified, because they don't know what it is, but they're scared stiff, and they know that there's something wrong with the energies in the room. So I often get a lot of people ringing me with what's known as the night terrors, and that will be down to ghosts. So there's lots of things I can recommend. So one of the things I would say is, and you can probably find this out on the internet, but the important thing is to know your personal energies. Now I do run workshops, and obviously if you want to book me, by all means do. But if you can go online, and it's not always accurate, unfortunately, but if you can go online, you could probably check with your date of birth, what your personal energies are. So you can find out from that what your best directions should be. But more important than anything is never ever line up the headboard of the bed against a wall behind which there's a toilet, which I think I mentioned the last time. And never ever line up the foot of the bed with an exit door to the outside. So your front door, even if it's 20 stories below, or your back door or your side door, very, very important, or balcony doors or sliding patio doors, anything at all in the way of an exit door. So forget the room for a moment, because that is secondary. The most important thing is don't line up the foot of the bed in what's known as the coffin position, because we don't want to leave the house feet first in a box. And that's what that means. And that is actually known universally. So look at the bed direction, because the body and the brain knows this is not the right way to lie in the bed, with either the head down the toilet, the feet facing out an exit door, or because there's a disturbance in the energies. Don't have anything like plants in a bedroom. Don't have water in the bedroom unless you have a carafe with a glass on top to stop the water from mixing with the atmosphere in the bedroom. You must put water.
And I know a lot of people will bring water every night. So you're saying have it covered?
Yes, have it covered. Drink whatever water out of the glass, and then make sure to put the glass back on top of the carafe again. Or drink from a water bottle. I think I showed you before that it's possible to buy a glass water bottle, never a plastic bottle, avoid plastic at all costs, and make sure that that has the lid on it. And just if you do wake up, you just have to unscrew the lid and drink from it. But no water in bedrooms, no plants, no mirrors, no cut flowers. You know that they remove those even in hospitals from wards. They're known to steal the oxygen from the room. No dream catchers, no crystals, no spherical crystals, rainbow crystals hanging, no rock crystals in bedrooms. A bedroom is purely for sleeping. Keep it simple. Don't believe everything you read. Yeah.
I think you've probably given a lot of people food for thought. There are a number of things there that are really helpful. And interestingly, Teresa, who asked the question about that particular thing, said that she's been in Wexford for the last few days and she has slept really well.
Yeah, so the energy is wrong in the house that she lives in.
Yes.
That's the important thing. Yeah, and actually I find people ring me often, friends of mine, and they say, just need a night's sleep, can I pop up? Everything is good here, but no, it's really important. You know, a night's sleep is so precious, and it's when you lose that you realize just how much it affects you. You're more prone to accidents and mishaps. You know, you don't digest your food properly, you can't retain anything, your memory is affected. You know, just your every day, even the things you'll say and do, you know, you'll get it all wrong, because you need a night's sleep, and 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep every night is very, very important. So just bear that in mind. So try not to ever hang anything over the head of the bed, and make sure you have a headboard as well. And I mean an upholstered headboard where possible. Very, very important, because we want support in our lives, and a headboard, the bigger the better. And if you do go onto my website, and thank you, Trina, for all the lovely compliments about my site. But if you go onto my website and have a look, you'll find that the most downloaded image ever, actually, that I've ever had out of all my portfolio was of a bedroom I did for the RT show house back in 2005, I think it was. And imagine, and if you looked at that image today, you wouldn't think it had aged in any way, but that started the fashion for large headboards in Ireland. And you'll see that it's a massive, big statement headboard that I actually sent away to get it framed as well. So it's not just upholstered, it's framed. And that will make a massive difference to a person's life. Yeah.
I think we'll all be there looking at that first thing in the morning. The orders.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really good to do those things. So we'll have we time enough to cover the other questions?
Yes. Oh, this is fascinating. You could.
Great, fantastic. And another lady with mirrored with mirrored wardrobes running alongside the bed. So no matter where they are in the bedroom, don't forget, mirrors are going to steal all the energy. They're going to reflect you at night. Try not to have them in the room. And Trina, for you, definitely remove the dressing room mirror at night, especially. I would not leave it in during the day either, because I feel the bedroom energy needs to collect, you know, so very important that you don't sap the energy from the bedroom where possible.
Okay.
So now the other things, such as, because I think sleeping is a very big issue here from judging by the questions that people seem to have issues with. So what I would say is storing items under the bed is not as big a deal as people might think it is, because sometimes we just don't have space. Yes. So if you don't have the closet space, storing things under the bed is all well and good. It's just that, you know, keep it to the simple stuff. I think paperwork and books and things like that, if you can store them as they're very heavy energy somewhere else, that's great. But clothing, you know, bed linens, extra blankets, that sort of thing, no problem, store under the bed, or shoes. You know, it's just all about how we can make the most of our spaces and still have enough storage. And I'm just looking at, there's a whole list of questions here.
And there's a lot to do with storage actually in them as well.
There is. And actually, let's cover storage, because I think what we're doing today is, and you know, it was a very interesting discussion that I had. And again, you can go on and actually listen to the recording that we have of that podcast with Leash People on my website. But it was a very interesting talk, because it was myself and another gentleman who discussed the same, very similar things to myself. And we talked very much about living today. What we're doing is we are definitely consuming far too much. We're bringing home too much. So let's live not just efficiently, but sufficiently. And I think that was something that was very beneficial for people to learn that, because we have way too much. And when it comes to storage, what are we actually storing? Are we storing things that we need? Because out of sight is out of mind. And if we don't think of it, are we actually really in need of it? And I'm not suggesting, because I'm certainly not ruthless when it comes to decluttering. I never say to people, get rid of all the things that build an identity for you, that tell you about your past and where you came from, your school books or your you know, your old school uniform, or whatever it is that has sentimental and valuable meaning to you as a person or to your family members. They're the things that you do want to hang on to, and they matter. So that it's nothing to do with that. It's to do with the fact that an old broken watch that you bought cheap anyway, and you don't use, or stuff that, you know, people have given you down through the years that you really don't want anymore, and you don't even see those people anymore. Perhaps you're no longer in touch. It doesn't really matter, does it? You know, have a look at what you've got. There's no point in, you know, you're actually paying to keep your spaces and to maintain them and to heat them and to clean them, and you're putting so much energy into making them look lovely, and then at the end of the day they're full of rubbish. It's not the best thing to do. So have a look at the way you're storing things. I think it's really important to do two very, very simple things. So I think the best storage tips I can give you, in fact I'll give you three, is number one, the most important storage, what I call storage, is actually work surfaces in the house. We tend to use our work surfaces for storage when we shouldn't. They're there for tasking. I mean, the more clear the work surfaces are, the quicker you will be able to come to decisions, the faster you will get a task done. And if you can try and have dedicated workspaces, for instance, if a child is studying, they need a proper little study desk, and it should be again aligned to suit them and their date of birth. And it should also be aligned to, you know, manage taboos as well. So very, very important, because they will become a student who does things, and, you know, a busy person gets things done. So if you train in a child at a young age, they will live their life accordingly. And the same goes for everything we do. You know, we need tabletop space. We need to be able to sit down and do something, and to have the space to do it, and not have to clear something away every time there's a meal, if possible. So tabletop surface and work surfaces and desking and so on are very, very important surfaces that we need for tasking, and shouldn't be used for storage where possible.
Can I jump in on you then, please, if I may?
Sure,
Because a unique kind of situation may have occurred so much in homes throughout the country lately, and that is that people are working from home. And I did speak with a young lady recently who was literally living in her workspace and relaxing in that workspace as well. But what is happening is that people aren't disturbing their work, and that is in their, what would you say, relaxation space, or their dining space, or their whatever else.
Yes.
So are they, I mean, what would you advise? I'm not going to put any words into your mouth. What would you advise?
Yeah, it's very hard to live and work in the one space, but if you can try and set up, it's called zoning really. Okay. Try and set up your workspace in such a way that it's almost zoned. It could just be that the desk sits on a separate rug, and therefore it's delineated from the rest of the space. You'd be surprised how happy that makes the brain, because then it can categorize that as the workspace. And once you're not in it, it means you're no longer working. And it's as simple as that.
You just saying the word actually is enough to make people feel, yes, I know it. That's a great
idea. And you know, what's really important about working from home, and I know we're digressing now, but I just want to mention this, is that that space is one that's welcoming, that's inspirational, that you love, because otherwise you're going to dread working in it. Yes. And there's been this massive adjustment, hasn't there, between living at home and now working from home and trying to live at home. And the thing that we have to get into the frame of mind of is that we're actually going to work when we go to sit in that zone space, because otherwise you will stop everything, go and do a load of dishes, come back. You know, women will do this. They will task all the time, constantly. And they will think, I'll just put on that load of washing. And actually what people find incredibly hard is being disciplined about working from home. When you're working from home, just work from home, take your breaks. I always suggest either 5 minutes every hour minimum, or 10 minutes every 2 hours. Or even a 15-minute break if need be, but the brain needs to kind of cool down. You need to file away information and go back to your job then, because if you don't take those breaks, if you just keep working through, or you just work for a block of time and then you take a break, it's too much for the brain actually to cope with. And what you'll find is you're slowing down, your brain can't take in the information, and your retentive memory is no longer working properly. So try to be very focused and put things up that are really inspirational, things that you love, the things that make you most happy. It could even just be your inspiration board. It doesn't have to be all work related, but put up something like a beautiful piece of artwork, and that in itself might have lots of beautiful texture and color and a lovely picture in it that makes you happy, that really makes your heart sing. But I think it's nice to have something to look at when you have to do some creative thinking, when you're in a conversation with somebody. It's lovely to be on a happy note, isn't it? Rather than sort of struggling all the time and forcing something.
Love
So
it.
try and do that. I think that helps.
Super answer. Thank you for that. Love
Yeah.
it. Great tips there too.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to storage, you know, that one of the questions was about kitchen storage. And again, my second tip would be buy glass jars for all of your foodstuffs and make sure that they're fully sealed, but keep the instructions or the use by date on the piece of packaging when you decant everything from the grocery store into your containers. But I would always recommend people do that because you're buying everything in plastic packaging more or less. So as soon as you get home, decant everything into glass, get rid of the packaging immediately because that's very dangerous. Don't cook in the containers that they sell you in the grocery store, like the foil trays, because they will actually contaminate the food. And I think it's very, very important to not have food contaminated by foil, film, or plastic. So avoid those wherever you can and see if you can try and create a system where you can see in one glance through, as soon as you see those containers, as soon as you open the cupboard doors, or maybe it might be on shelves that you place them, that you see immediately what your needs are when you go shopping. It'll save you from buying 2 and 3 times over and making mistakes. So it cuts back on all the food waste that we're contributing to as well. And the third tip I would give you is hang everything. Set up your wardrobe where you have double rails or even triple rails, and make sure that you hang absolutely everything in the way of clothing. So it's all there in one glance. And that's the only thing I don't like about sliding wardrobe doors, is that you pull the door to one side, you see half of what you've got. You think, well, I'd love to put that with something else, but I just have to push the door across and see what's on this side. And then you've already forgotten what was on that side. It's a bit of a nuisance. So I think for the brain to really be efficient and work well, it's good to see everything in one go. And that way you can say straight away, that's the outfit I'm going to wear today. And it stops you from buying more. The more you have, the less likely you are to turn around and buy more. So you won't spend as much money.
Yeah, lovely. So you're going back to that lovely thing you said earlier, live not just efficiently, but sufficiently, which...
Absolutely. It's all down to that. And I think lockdown has brought that home, hasn't it? That our homes are overstuffed. We don't have as much space as we should have. We're over furnishing, we're over decorating, we're over styling our homes too. These aren't show homes, they're a family home perhaps, or a home to work in and to relax in, as you said earlier. You know, a home should be zoned in such a way that it performs different functions and gives us the opportunity to have different activities going on in it. And, you know, don't forget what was once, I suppose at one time we used to spend maybe around 60% of our time at home. And then that's developed, what with the advent of the internet, where people began to take courses at home and, you know, they might keep in touch with family abroad via email and so on. So they were using their computers more. And that then developed to about, I suppose, 80% maybe of, and that's quite a big evolution from 60 to 80%. But because of lockdowns, we've ended up spending up to 98% of our time indoors. We're worshipping from home, we're studying at home, we're working from home, we're shopping at home, we're relaxing at home, we're exercising at home. There are so many activities that we're doing now at home, and even just to have a Zen space, someplace to do a little bit of meditation or contemplation. And which is another reason why a lot of people are contacting me about the gardens as well, because I do homes and gardens. It's just that we need to look at how do we use our spaces and what kind of flow do we have from right from the front door through the back door and out into the garden. We need to be able to use that space as efficiently and in a sufficient way as possible.
Well, you mentioned gardens there, and you also
Yeah.
said meditation. Recently, I was speaking with a lady who actually did build a beautiful garden, meditation garden, and even the story behind how she got it was fascinating. Someday we'll talk about it. But there's a lady who has a question. She said, does Nina have any advice on the garden being an extension of the home?
Yes.
Or flow? I realize Nina's interior, but I'd really be interested in that.
I do it all. I do. You know, with feng shui design, you can apply it to anything. And of course, you know, as well as that, I'm a spatial designer, not just a decorator or a stylist. So in that sense, it's very easy for me to take a space, look at it and rejig it and rework it. And I think that's what we should be doing. Work with what you've got. Don't just think, I'll throw out the baby and the bathwater. What do you have in the garden to start with? What are the assets? And the best features of that garden, and how can you look at each, it's a little bit like looking at every elevation of a property, isn't it? You know, every time you look at a particular vista and you turn from front to right to rear to left, you know, do you have everything that you want within that view. And I think a garden needs to, just like a home, it needs to meet your needs. It might be that you want outdoor cooking, you want an outdoor entertainment area, you might want a little contemplative private section. And I think it's very good with a garden as well to bear in mind, it's not about revealing everything in one go. And I often say this, and I know we have a giggle about it, but you know, it's a little bit like seeing someone running down a beach naked. You've seen it all, and now the intrigue is gone, isn't it? Whereas if you saw a gentleman running down the beach, or a lady for that matter, in a little pair of trunks, it leaves a little bit to the imagination, doesn't it? And the same goes with a garden. You know, have a winding path, create the secret garden. Maybe give the false impression that, you know, through the doorway here, it might be a false door and a fence panel, but it might look as though you're able to continue your journey from that garden into another area. And it could be that you could zone and divide up your garden as well. And again, it depends on undulations, it depends on levels. There's so much to a garden. I always look at the dragons and the tigers. And I think that's very important because, of course, I'm trying to balance up prosperity and luck and positivity. So I will always look to see where are the dragons, what can I do to make this really special and to add to somebody's positivity, luck, and to the transformation, I suppose, of where they are now. So the dragons and the tigers are very important. And a lovely movie, I'm sure you've all heard of it, but Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is a feng shui movie. I'm sure you've all heard of that, haven't you? And another movie I could recommend to you all, actually, that you'd find absolutely fascinating is a Mexican film called Like Water for Chocolate. Very odd title. I'm sure you may have heard of it, but it's absolutely the most beautiful story. And it's all about the energy that we put into the food that we eat. So very, very important movie. Watch the way when she's laughing and happy and she's cooking her food. When she serves it to the guests, they're all laughing and happy. And when she's crying and upset and she's stirring the sadness into the pot, when everybody gets served the food, they all cry and they're all sad. And that is absolutely a feng shui movie in every respect. Yeah, it's the energy we put into everything we do.
Okay, can I just jump in there because
Sure,
I'm completely, you know, I have no real knowledge at all. I know I like the sound of feng shui because I like the idea of energy and it being considered. But when you said, you know, finding the dragons and the tigers, please forgive me, but what do you actually mean by that?
Okay, it's the first and most important principle of feng shui. So when I come to a person's home, for example, the first thing I look at is the exterior setting around the property itself. If we sit on a stool rather than a chair and we lean back on that stool, we're going to fall off. Yes. And the important thing is that if you look at anything to do with feng shui, it's all about the dragons and the tigers and the armchair formation. So I try to recreate that where I can for people. I will look at the way the house is orientated on the site, and I will look at how to rejig that and work it so that they end up with the dragons balancing out the tigers. The tiger is malevolent. It will cause havoc with your health, your finances, your luck, your prosperity. Whereas the dragon is all about luck, opportunities, good health, success, and so on. Very important for health and the success of a business, particularly if you're self-employed or running a business, it becomes even more important. Or if you have had a serious illness, it is incredibly important to get this right, because a serious illness means that your immune system has been compromised, and it means that your health is starting from below ground level, if you like. You have to try and build back up again. And that's ask anyone who's had a health issue. Your health is your top priority. Health is wealth. And after that comes relationships, and lastly comes finances. So anyone who's had a health issue can tell you it's very, very hard to rebuild your health and rebuild your strength from where you were to where you'd like to be. Very, very important to look after health, and the dragon will do that for you.
Fascinating. Thank you for explaining that, because I listen to you speak and it's lovely, but I just needed to know what those words actually meant. I love the idea of that. And just with regard to growing food in your garden, very briefly.
Oh, very important.
Is that a big one? Is it? Yeah.
It's huge. In fact, actually, I know that eventually, in fact, I think IKEA is now producing a way of growing your own food hydroponically. I think they're experimenting with that already. I'm not sure if that's just in the American stores, but I do a lot of research on things, and I've been very impressed with the fact that, you know, there really is that movement towards growing our own food, no matter whether you only have a balcony or a windowsill. I mean, you can just grow your own herbs. But the important thing is to grow your own food. If it's grown by your own hand, it's going to be very different, isn't it? You have control over how that food is being fed as it's being grown. you don't have any chemicals to react with it or to contaminate it. And obviously, when it comes to cooking as well, that's a very important process that you should be doing to create more harmony in your homes and to burn away bad luck. So cook for yourself. Don't buy ready-made meals where you can help it. Try and boil, stew, steam, fry, or poach your food on top of the hob. It's very important that you cook on top of your hob. It's not what you put in the oven, and it's not what you grill. So very, very important that you cook and you see the bubbles coming up in the saucepan and going mad in the saucepan, because once you see that, you know that the goodness in the food will be released into the organs, and the body can uptake those nutrients, the organs can soak it up, and you get the nutritional needs that your immune system needs. And today, the most important thing in the world with COVID is our immune system. So do everything and anything you can to help your immune system. And don't forget, between Brexit and the Suez Canal and COVID and world recession, and Wuhan was the capital of manufacturing in the world, actually. And, so we've ended up now very short of products, and we're short in plant. Actually, in the UK, they're suffering a major plant shortage now at the moment for people's gardens. People have bought up so much stuff during lockdown that actually there's a shortage as well because of that. So if you really think about it, food shortages could occur very, very easily. Already crops have been compromised in certain places, in certain countries due to weather conditions. It is a good idea to start growing your own food where you can now. So yes, start doing that.
Another example of something small we can do for our own good health.
Yeah, absolutely. And take control of what you're consuming, because of course you are what you eat and what it eats, as somebody once said to me. And another thing that's really important, and I hope I'm not going over time now, Trina, but I just want to share so much with you all, is a very, very important thing altogether. Please don't eat the flesh of the pig. Don't eat pork, don't eat bacon, don't eat sausages, don't eat gammon steaks, don't eat ham, don't eat anything associated with the pig, because the pig's DNA is more or less the same as a human being's, and it's not fit for human consumption because of what it's fed. And if you think about what it's being fed, you wouldn't like to eat it really. So it's treated with a lot of chemicals, dioxins and so on, and those are very seriously contaminating that meat. It's impossible to cook it. It really is a very tough meat. It's not a meat that we should be eating. A pig has no sweat glands, so all its toxins remain within its body, and then we're eating that. So you may as well be eating the contents of your toilet. It is that serious. Yeah. So horrible correlation, but I have to tell you, because if you do eat the flesh of the pig, you're opening the floodgates for cancer.
Okay.
So if you don't want cancer, please don't eat the flesh of the pig. The DNA is not right for the human being to eat anyway. And then, of course, we're contaminating our body with a lot of poisonous food that's just, so dangerous.
Okay.
So avoid pork at all costs, please.
We tend to think of food when we're eating it, and it's something I do say from time to time that, as we're eating it, we're going, I really shouldn't. This is so bad for me. And I often feel that what we say to ourselves as we are eating is nearly as bad for us as whatever we consider the piece of chocolate, the cake, the ice cream, the whatever it is. But really and truly, when you can speak so sort of, what would we say, so clearly about what we should not be eating, then it's helpful to know, rather than complaining about something that's really quite good. A piece of dark chocolate, for example, is actually a lovely thing, I think, to eat. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, Trina, don't let's go down that road of constantly denying ourselves and saying, oh, this is bad for me and that's bad. I think we can end up with phobias very, very easily. Look, you know what's good for you, don't you? Porridge in the mornings. I mean, I can give you the best diet in the world. Add some seeds and nuts and blueberries to it, and a pinch of salt when you're cooking it. It brings out the flavor in the porridge. Soak it. Make sure you buy organic jumbo oats. I think Flavins sell that. And soak it the night before, because it will become really lovely and creamy. But have that in the winter time, and maybe supplement that with rice flakes or something else for the summertime. Any grain at all, actually, you can make a pudding out of practically. And have that for breakfast. And then for lunch, if you eat a light lunch, just have soup, clear soup, and maybe a wrap. That's it. And then for your main meal, salmon. Make sure that if you can get wild salmon or organic salmon, fabulous. But salmon, steamed vegetables, and a grain, and just vary the grain every night. Have a different grain each night. That's the best diet in the world. If you look at the salmon, he's the king of fish, and look how agile. And don't forget the oils. For the body, we need oils for our joints. A very powerful diet indeed. You will live for a long time on that diet, trust me.
Sounds
Very good.
wonderful. Thank you.
And cut out alcohol. I think we're all drinking far too much. I'm hearing more and more horror stories of people becoming addicted to booze because during lockdown, it's been their little treat. And the trouble is that, and especially for women, we shouldn't be drinking anyway. It doesn't suit our bodies. But if you don't want to put on weight, then don't drink wine.
Okay.
Don't drink anything fermented.
Here, everybody. Okay.
Horrible to deny ourselves, in a sense, something that is a little bit of a treat. But the trouble is that it can get out of hand very quickly. And alcohol often interferes with the whole body's system, even the brain, for thinking and processing, for the nervous system, for foods and digestive, processes. It's really quite dangerous. And unfortunately, it is doing us a lot of harm. And of course, an awful lot of the drink that we are drinking isn't organic.
Yes.
It's full of chemicals.
And then it leads back to sleeping well at night and all of those other things. So,
and if you drink wine late at night, it will keep you awake. It'll actually wake you up.
Well, you know something, Nina, I think you've given us all an awful lot to think about, and we certainly can't say that we're moving away from this without, things to reflect on. We can all go away and go, there's a lot there, but there are a couple of things that we can do immediately.
Yes.
And I think that that's been hugely helpful. I'm almost certain okay. Can I just ask you one thing? One person did say, because I know the majority of us here don't have small children, but there is one question about a nursery. Any advice on lighting in a nursery? This lady has a salt lamp there. Do the rules of position of a cot apply for babies? And she has in brackets, not to sleep in the north direction.
Okay. I don't know where this issue of the north direction comes from, actually, because again, if I'm going to someone's home, I'm looking at everything holistically. I'm looking at the orientation of the room, the way it sits in the house, what palace does it lie, who does it most affect, which organ of the body does it represent, and so on. There's so much to feng shui. But what I will say is that the rules of the bed are the same as the rules of the cot. Don't line up the cot with an exit door. Don't line up the headboard with a toilet, even if it's 20 rooms away. So that's the number one priority. A salt lamp is very good for anywhere, absolutely anywhere in the house, actually, because salt is very, very powerful. And I think I said to you for Feng Shui New Year and Chinese New Year to put jars of salt or sugar bowls, small ceramic bowls of salt in the corners of every room in the house. I think I mentioned that the last time. So try and do that and replace the salt very, very frequently, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Make sure you do that if you can, because it cleanses the air and it cleanses the room of certain energies. And I think that would be very beneficial to anyone who's got a sleeping issue at the moment. But it's a very important thing to do anyway. And I always stress to people, try and put the salt down, because it will make a massive difference and you will feel that difference. It will bring back the yin and yang balance. It will cleanse the energy. It will do a lot of things. So that's the first thing. And the other thing is, I don't like to hang anything over the head of the cot. Again, mobiles and what have you hanging from midair. I'm not fond of the whole concept of that. Try and hang them off to one side. I don't even see, do babies really, get something from that? Because the fact is they're hanging over the head of the bed. That's not the right way to go about doing things. And also make sure that everything is made from natural materials where possible. This is where it's to do with chemical toxins. I'm sure that will contribute to things like cot deaths. We have to be really careful how much we're overloading the indoor environment with chemicals and toxins. Yeah, anything that's going to contaminate the environment. So I hope that will help. And again, if the child isn't sleeping or there's a difficulty with sleep, it might be that you need to move that child from that bedroom because the smaller the baby or the more elderly the person, the more sensitive they can be. I always try and also put a young person, an elderly person, or a vulnerable person against two walls. It might be that the headboard is against one wall and the side of the cot or the side of the single bed might be up against another wall. It gives them double support. So that could help as well.
Yes, yeah, and you can nearly understand that too. Nina, thank you so much. Honestly,
you're more than welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you. Teresa says, thank you, Nina. Lots of changes in my room to come. I think that's brilliant. Yes. KTK, that's very interesting about the dragons and the tigers. Absolutely. Do you know something I love? What I love about the Tuesday Night Club is that I hope to sort of just open up lines of curiosity for people so that they can follow something that you know, that they can respond to. And
Yes.
that's one thing I know that I'm certainly going to go and have a really close look at. I love the idea of that. A lot of people saying thank you. Katie says thank you so much. Nina, Laura is saying fascinating, thank you.
More than welcome.
Morlin, where do you put your mirrors?
Oh, now interesting, actually. At one time I had wardrobes with mirrors on them in a corridor outside of the bedrooms, but now I actually have a different setup. I rejigged and redid my house yet again last year, and I've cut out mirrors again from even the wardrobes now. Now I just have a mirror for in the bathroom. I have very limited mirrors. Actually, you have to really go to trouble. I don't bother looking at myself half the time. God knows how I've turned myself out tonight. But I have one mirror for my makeup and hair, and I have one mirror in the bathroom. And aside from that, I have two tiny little mirrors in each of the bedrooms, because if guests come and I give up my room, for instance, I would hate for them to have to come out without not having seen and check themselves first from the bedroom. Exactly. And that's it. And they're not reflecting the person in bed at night either. That's a very important thing. So yeah, minimize the mirrors. And obviously, hopefully you've learned a lot from tonight. I know I can only talk for a short time, but you know, I'd love to.
Oh, listen, you'll have to come back again and again and again, because do you know, I imagine as many of us are here, you would have that number of questions being asked of you, but you have beautifully covered quite a number of things that all of us can relate to, and also given us things that we can go away with and explore for ourselves, which I think is really important. And also some facts, you know, you know, what you talk about food and you know, alcohol and all of that kind of thing, growing, and that is all very good for us. How to store our food, how to use our food and cook our food. This is all about encouraging a healthy home, as you say, is making happy people.
And actually, Trina, just to mention two small things, I hope I'm not keeping you now. Just to mention, there's a bad habit that people have of banging the spoon against the saucepan. They'll stir the pot and bang the spoon on the saucepan. Don't do that. You're upsetting the energy in the food.
Okay.
That's one thing. And the second thing I noticed in Ireland is that everybody shovels the food in as fast as they can at the table. And that's an absolute no-no. Please chew your food up to 100 times per mouthful. It should be pure liquid by the time you swallow it. And if you do that, you will definitely live a very high quality life for a very long time. So slow down, enjoy your food, concentrate on the food. It's all about mindfulness, about eating every single mouthful with gratitude and enjoying the flavors and chewing it so that it is properly masticated in the mouth. So just wanted to add that because it's so important for energy reasons.
It's very important, and I love that you said it. Maura's saying very interesting. Thank you, Nina. Gail said, thank you, Nina. That was amazing. Morlin asked that question. That's true, and you've answered it. Thank you, Nina. Very interesting from Elizabeth and informative. Susie said she has. Susie said, I have selenite lamps next to my bed. Is this not good?
Say that again?
Susie has a selenite lamp next to her bed. Is that not good? The question.
No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's just that too many rock crystals and you become very headachy and a bit dreamy and a bit less well grounded, if you like. And, you know, we don't need any energy interference in our bedrooms. Sometimes, you know, people will often tell me, oh, on the internet it said, or in this book it said to have these crystals on top of your computer or your television set. And that is an absolute no-no, because crystals also expand energy. And so you don't want to expand electromagnetic stress. It's something that you must contain and reduce and minimize as much as possible. So avoid using crystals around computers and television sets. Yeah.
Okay, because I would have put some, particularly maybe citrine and that kind of thing. Rose McQuinn says, thanks, Nina. So interesting and informative. Anne-Marie said, thank you so much, Nina. Really interesting conversation. Lisa said, is coffee bad? Lisa said, Lisa Baldwin, I bet you like your coffee. Is coffee bad?
Interesting, actually, you should ask that. Coffee does a number of different things. It can, if you've got a little bit of a heart problem, you shouldn't really be drinking coffee or taking brandy. Those two things will force the heart to beat faster. And so that's not a good thing to do. But a cup of coffee every day at 11:30 in the day is perfect.
So a square of dark chocolate.
Yeah, and again, I mean, these are the things that we need. This is a very damp climate and we suffer from what's known as the damp condition. The damp gets into our lungs which is why I was saying last time, go away on a holiday around January, February to dry out the system after going through a damp winter, and particularly this winter and this summer have been, even though we've had less rainfall, and you think that there's a more dry atmosphere out there, it is very, very damp. So we do need things to sort of give us a little bit of a reboot and make us feel like we've got an energy hit. But if you're suffering from energy loss, then there's an issue. There's the problem with the feng shui of the house. Yeah. You shouldn't be suffering from lethargy. So either you might need to get me, I don't know, but it might be down to the body, or it might be down to the house, or it might be down to both.
And you're
able to fix the energy level.
You can actually work that out. Sorry, Nina, I've interrupted you there, but that's something that you can do. That's
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing you have to do is either fix the person or fix the house or fix both. I mean, that's how the transformation comes together. It's matching the energies of people with their spaces. And it's about the health and well-being of the occupant or of the family. And if you don't get that right, if you don't align those energies, how can life be wonderful? So it's really, really important that you do something about that. So if it's a serious lethargy issue, then sleep may come into it. It may be that you're not digesting your food properly and getting the right nutrients. It may be that the energy in the house is being sapped, or that there's some other problem. But coffee is great for that kickstart. And for some people, they live on it. But just don't drink coffee, for instance, on an empty stomach. You know, have something to eat with it, because, you know, the stomach lining is actually quite delicate. So things like curries, for instance, you would normally have something like rice or bread to soak up the spices, that it doesn't burn the lining of the stomach. But whereas if you're a sleepy lethargy, you're suffering from lethargy and you're a bit lethargic and a bit slow, then spices will actually reboot the system. So will coffee, but just not on an empty stomach. Be very, very careful about that. Yeah.
So very good.
Coffee is good. Yeah, it's not a problem. It's just, if you're taking it, I need to know why.
Nina, Gillian has asked a good question. I know that you said it's okay to store things under your bed, you know, said clothing and blankets and shoes and things, but Gillian is saying, are plastic storage boxes under the bed okay?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're all going to have this issue. I was giving a talk recently, and I can't remember, I think it might have been Sunshine Radio, actually, Carol, and I was saying that we really should go around our homes and do a plastics audit. And I would recommend that to everybody. Go around your home and look at everything you have. It should be made from solid wood, seashell, metal, you know, fabrics. And of course, even with fabrics, unfortunately, they're treated for flame retardancy. They're treated for moth repellency. There's so many different treatments that wood has to be put through. But at the same time, a wood floor is going to be a lot healthier than a vinyl covering. And the saying goes, I mean, now there's a resurgence, thank goodness, and a complete revival of cork flooring. And cork is a wonderful natural material, but it was in very short supply. So it died a death fashion-wise, but it also became very, I'm sure everybody knows this, that the evergreen oak is the tree that produces the cork that we use for wine bottles, and we use for flooring and other materials made from cork, you know, your table mats and things like that. But the fact is, there was a very big shortage in the world of evergreen oak. And so therefore we couldn't harvest that cork product. And that's why we get screw caps on wine bottles today and plastic corks, which I don't agree with at all. But the fact of the matter is that that has now seen a resurgence, because everybody who was, I suppose, smart 20, 25 and 30 years ago began to invest in backing the planting of the evergreen oak trees to sit on their money until the time came when the forest was going to be you know, harvested, and we were going to get back the cork. So they've reworked cork now, and it's the most incredible product. It is expensive. It's a natural product, of course, and it looks amazing. So have a look at that. Look at wood flooring as an option, and of course ceramic tiles. I think tiles have come a long way. They're a little bit uncomfortable, and I do find that the acoustics aren't as good, and if you drop something on the floor, naturally it will break. But cork, wood and tile are actually great options. And also there's lots of other, you know, there's an amazing array of products coming around now. You know, we are getting all kinds of things reworked and remodeled, and vintage upcycling, and all kinds of amazing things are happening now in the world, all contributing to sustainability and reducing the pile of unwanted goods. And don't forget, we can't be sending our stuff anywhere anymore, because other countries are coming up now and they don't want it. you know.
That will make us think, that will concentrate the mind a lot.
Mhm.
Nina, thank you so much. I know that every single one of us here this evening, there's what are we, 34 people, and I know there were more at one point, they had to go, are so grateful to you. You've given us so much to think about, and I'm really looking forward to you coming back to us again very soon.
Thank you for having me.
So many questions as well, and namaste indeed. Thank you, Nina. Okay,
Take care, everyone.
thank
Bye.
you.